This handsome devil is Charming. Interesting name, the first Charming I've ever worked with. Now, one of Charming's issues is he is leash aggressive, we call it. That means that when he is around another dog, when he's on his leash with his guardian, he gets aggressive, barks, lunges, nips, and has he attacked any other dogs?
No.
But he shows that he would.
Yeah.
But when the guardian takes Charming to doggy daycare, he can be hanging out with 25 other dogs, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we know he's not dog aggressive all the time. What I'm extrapolating or getting out of this is that he is either possessive or protective of his guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just spent about an hour going over rules and structure and ways that we can help change the dynamic so that he starts to identify as a follower. I think right now he thinks that you're equals or that he is your leader. And so it's his job to ward off any other dogs that come nearby because he was worried that that Dalmatian might try to steal you and take you home with it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to be preemptive. So this is a focus exercise that I learned from my mentor. She wrote a book called Feisty Fido, Solutions for Leash Reactive Dogs, specifically for this exact problem. So she calls this a watch exercise. I call it a focus exercise. I have a different exercise I call the watch. Now to do this, I have a handful of treats. You want to do about 10 treats in your hand. 10 to 15 treats each time you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a right-handed person, so I'm going to put the treats in my left hand except for one of them. Okay. I'm going to hold one of them like this in both hands. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to curl them. I'm going to put them on my. There you go. You get a freebie. I'm going to put these on my knees because I want them to look uniform. If I'm holding this one this way and I'm holding this one a different way, the dog can see there's a difference. I want my hands to look uniform. I'm going to sit facing him with my shoulders, my knees shoulder width apart, and with the dog's head right here. I'm going to turn and put him over here so you can see it from the sideways because there's two movements. What I'm going to try to achieve in this is I want to get him trained to look at me in the face.
Okay.
I'm not going to lure him to do it, however. I'm going to wait for him to do it on his own. When he does it, then I'm going to reward him. Now I'm going to show you from a frontal view, and then you'll see a lot of it from the side view. When he looks up at me, I'm going to imagine if his nose is right. Well, his nose is here. So imagine there's a string going from his nose to my nose. So the treat is going to be on my knee. The first thing I do is intersect this string. So I go straight up towards it. I'm not going towards the dog, I'm not going towards myself, but basically I'm going about 8 inches in front of my nose to maintain eyesight between the two of us. Now all he has to do is look at my face. He doesn't have to actually look at my eyes, but as soon as he does that, then I'm going to go towards him, focus. I'm going to say the word focus every time it touches his lips. Anytime you're giving a dog a treat, they should hear the command word the second it touches their lips. And I'm a big proponent of only using the command word, not saying good boy sit or good sit or the dog's name and sit, just sit. This one we're going to use just focus.
Okay.
Now that first is going to be 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. That's what I'm going to do for this. When you're practicing this, and I might do a different video later on, I might just explain it in text, but eventually you're going to make the second movement go up to 20 seconds. So it'll be 1 second, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now right now he's going to lunge for it because we haven't built up there. So we're going to start out by just doing 1 second, 1 second. Then the next time we do it, maybe it's 1 second, 2 seconds before I deliver the treat. Then the next one, 3 seconds. Now it doesn't always mean each time you practice you add 1 second. You go on the dog's pace. But eventually you get to the point where the dog will sit here and look up at you for 20 seconds. This way, when you're out on a walk later on, you see a dog coming, you put him in a stop and give him the focus exercise. He's looking up at you, not looking at the other dog. Gives the other dog a time to pass you while you're slowly delivering the treat. And by the time you give him the treat, now he's ready to bark at the other dog. Oh, the dog's gone. Then he just looks back up at you, and then you go continuing your walk.
Okay.
All right, so this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to show you actually how to do the technique here, everybody. Oh, Charming. Oh, I'll give you a freebie over there. Charming. All right, so he's between my knees. Sit. Now he'll go for where the smell is coming from. That's okay. I'm not disagreeing. And I don't care if he stands, sits, or LAYs. Focus. So he's looking at me, but then he just gave me an eye movement. It doesn't have to be a whole head. It's just going to be a little bit of a movement. Everybody. So if he gets too far away, I might lure him. Sit. Focus. Focus. As you're seeing, he's starting to look at me faster and faster. Focus. 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 But the second he looks up at you, you got to be moving that treat immediately. Sometimes they'll only look for a half second when they get distracted.
Okay.
Focus. Okay, so when you do this, again, you want to have about 10 to 15 treats. A little tip for training. Anytime you're training your dog, their neurons get tired of firing after you practice something for too long. So your training session should ideally be between 1 and 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the very maximum, but I find the butter zone is about a minute 15 to a minute 45, somewhere in that range. And always, always, always end on a good one so the dog remembers it fondly the next time you start doing this game.
Okay.
So this is an exercise I'd like you to be doing 3 to 5 times a day minimum.
Okay.
But the more you practice it, the more the easier it's going to be for him to do. All right.
Okay.
Now, one last little thing. So as we're doing this, we're going to gradually work up to eventually to 20 seconds. It might take you a week or a week and a half to get there. And if you go to like from 15 seconds to 20 seconds and he starts losing interest at about 16 or 17 seconds, then back up at 15 seconds and practice 15 seconds a couple more times, then just go to 16 seconds the next time.
Sure.
All right, so now let's talk about how we can practice this and transition this eventually to outside. We're going to practice this inside, like I said, 3 to 5 times a day or more.
Okay.
And at first we want to do it when it's quiet like this. There's no distractions. Then eventually I want to do it when maybe I have my neighbor is outdoor doing their mowing their lawn or blowing their leaves or whatever. Or I have the radio on just a little bit. So each time that I do it, I want to increase the level of distractions, but very gradually, progressively.
Okay.
So that they're able, it's just a slightly more challenging, but I'm able to do it. And eventually when we get to the point where you have classical music going where it sounds like you have a classical orchestra right over there, and he's able to block that out.
Sure.
Now, you don't have a TV, but you might want to pull up a dog whisperer episode or a dog barking video on your computer and have that playing in the background because he's reactive to dogs.
Sure.
So when I do that, the first time I'm going to have a dog playing, I would maybe do a recording so I have 20 seconds of silence. So I press play, I can come over here, get set up, and I got about 20 seconds before the first dog starts barking.
Okay.
I would have the volume on this at like volume 2. So he's doing it, he's like, is that a dog barking? You can barely hear it, and you keep on practicing the exercise. The next time you do it, you turn it up a little bit more, and eventually it's the point where it's so loud you can't even hear yourself, but he's able to block it out.
Okay.
Like I mentioned earlier, when we have a dog with a behavioral problem, we want to simplify it. If there are 5 factors at play, we want to eliminate all but one of them and help him practice that one factor until he can be formed beautifully with that one factor. Then we go to the next one, practice that separately by itself. Once we practice them all separately, then we can maybe add 2 of them together and practice those together. So we're going to put the dog in a position to succeed by helping them practice the easiest scenario possible, and then we're gradually going to make it more and more challenging before we can get to the point where we go outside.
Okay.
Now the last little part about this is once you actually get to the point where your dog can respond, you say focus, and he sits down and looks up at you immediately, and you can maintain his gaze for 20 seconds. Then when you're on a walk, you say you walk him twice a day. One of the walks is early in the day and there's no other dogs around. So when you're on that walk, in between every other driveway and between every house, I want you to stop and do the focus exercise on the walk.
Okay.
Now first you're going to stop and actually turn to face him. He's going to do it, and then you don't have to do 20. Do like maybe 5. And then, or just 1 or 2, and then walk. So you're doing it outside with all the distractions and sights and sounds and things that are going to cause him to lose focus. That way, when you get to the point where you're on a walk and you see another dog, it's not all of a sudden a completely new scenario. He's practicing that scenario.
Okay.
Now, one last thing, a couple last things. If you get to the point where he is reactive to another dog, you're not going to snap him out of it until you break his line of sight and increase the distance. So if you have to go into the street, go around a car that's parked or a building or something to take him out of his line of sight.
Okay.
And the key is really for you. When you see the other dog way up at the top of the hill, that's when you want to, I would turn my gaze and look at the dog. I would still kind of approach him, but as soon as my dog sees that dog, we're going to stop and say focus. You want to start doing the focus when the dog is so far away that your dog doesn't consider it a threat, and then it's willing to sit here and look at you and give you its eyes. If the other dog is too close, I won't do that because I want to be barking at this dog. Or once I start barking, you won't get him to focus.
Okay.
So if he starts barking, you go around a corner or around somewhere, and that's kind of your plan B, which I'm going to talk about off camera. If you buy the book, Feisty Fido, you can read about Karen's plan B, and this is a great way to do to react if you get a dog that surprises you. But for now, we just want to focus on the focus exercise and practice it until it becomes second nature for your dog.